What's going on, everybody? This is Brian Mazique, aka Unique Mazique. I am a Forbes contributor. I am a fight guy. I'm usually a fight guy first. I don't know what happened there. And I also write for Heavy.com, and I have my fellow Forbes contributor, fellow fight guy, and boxing manager of the year candidate for 2019, Peter Kahn. What it do?
All's good, man. I'm just happy we're here Friday, UFC 250 tomorrow. The weigh-in's behind us. So much to talk about.
It is so much to talk about. We are powered by Fight TV and presented by Bet Online. Watching this on YouTube right now, we're probably in the chat with you. Say hi, wave, something. Don't be a lurker.
Yeah, no lurkers.
Please and click like as well. So if you have been watching this show, if this is your second or third time watching this podcast and you have never yet commented, right now, just say hello.
Say hello.
Say hello. Just type hello. That's all.
We like you guys.
You don't have to talk for a long time. Just say hello. All right. So with all of that said, we are going to go into round one, baby.
So, Brian, the UFC just keeps moving along.
Yes, it is.
I mean, you wouldn't even know there was a pandemic if you worked for the UFC.
Yep. Aside from the fact that everybody's got on masks and, you know, Dana White keeps posting pictures of himself getting swabs stuck up his nose. Outside of that, yeah, you probably wouldn't know.
Hey, look, UFC 250 is tomorrow. The weigh-in is behind us, providing top-notch information for all the MMA fans and UFC fans out there. So what can you tell us about tomorrow's show?
Well, the first thing, which is a good one, which is that everybody may wait. So, across the card, Aljamain Sterling, who is taking on Corey Sandhagen here. This could be a fantastic bantamweight fight. Both of those guys may wait. The co-main event, Rafael Assunção against Cody Garbrandt. Cody Garbrandt here is a former UFC men's bantamweight champion, but he is on a 3-fight losing streak, taking on Assunção, who's on a 2-fight losing streak. And you want to talk about two guys who really, really need a victory. That's it, right? Now, this main event, I'm telling you, man, it's getting more interesting. And just in my own mind, like I've had this fight between these two ladies, was Amanda Nunes, the greatest female mixed martial arts artist of all time, and Felicia Spencer. I've had this fight in my head several times, and I am trying to muster up the cojones to actually go against the biggest. This would be, if Felicia Spencer upsets Amanda Nunes, it would be probably the single biggest upset in the history of mixed martial arts. It would go right up there with Holly Holm knocking out Ronda Rousey, Matt Serra knocking out Georgia St. Pierre, Gabriel Gonzaga knocking out Mirko Cro Cop. It'd be right in that same.
So break it down.
Well, here's the reason why. My official prediction was Amanda Nunes winning, right, by third round TKO.
Okay.
But last night I just kept thinking about these things, and there's five reasons why Amanda Nunes could be ripe for an upset. The first thing is winner's fatigue. It happens to every individual athlete and every team that wins so consistently. Amanda Nunes is on a 10-fight win streak. She hasn't lost a fight, I think, since 2014 when she was TKO'd by Kat Zingano. Totally different Amanda Nunes at that time. So that's the first thing. Winner's fatigue is something that all people or any athletes or teams that have won as consistently as she has to kind of battle. The second one is division hopping, which if you follow combat sports, it is very difficult to hop back and forth between divisions and to not fall off. They're going up and down, even though it's only 10 pounds, that is pretty significant because Amanda looks to be really at her most fit at 135. At 145, she looks, you can kind of see the heft there, right? But she's so good, she's been able to get past it.
And she has the best in the business with her weight, so.
Yes. So yeah, obviously she's one of many athletes who uses perfecting athletes for her nutrition.
And the weight cut.
And the weight cut. And the third thing is, which there isn't much of a weight cut when she fights at 145.
Right, but you know what I'm saying. But being as strong as you can be, though. I mean, might not be a weight cut, but it's just being as strong and effective as you could be.
Right. And so the third thing is the pandemic, which could affect obviously both people. But I'm looking at somebody who has been as systematic as Amanda has been over this run. And you wonder what disruption, if any, has happened with her camp in terms of her training leading up to this fight. Which also leads me to what is my fourth reason, which is a lack of motivation. And I'm not saying she has a lack of motivation, but I think it's fairly easy to see how that could creep in. If you think about Amanda, she has beaten every great female mixed martial artist there is. Holly Holm, Ronda Rousey, Misha Tate, Valentina Shevchenko twice, Chris Cyborg, everybody who is anybody, she has beaten. Now here comes Felicia Spencer, one of the lesser known challengers that she's ever faced. She's a human. Amanda Nunes is a human being. And at some point you try to tell yourself possibly, hey, I'm not going to take this person lightly, but she's not Felicia Spencer's not Cyborg. Cyborg already defeated Felicia Spencer. Felicia Spencer's not Ronda Rousey. She's not Misha Tate. She's not Holly Holm. She's not any of these people. And so beating Felicia Spencer may not mean quite the same thing to Amanda Nunes on the inside as it did to beat those other people. So a lack of motivation is an issue or a potential issue. And then the last one is purely about style. Felicia Spencer is a elite level wrestler who has shown and proven her ability to gain top position and to work her submission game when she does. She's very strong. And most of all, she's extremely tough. She can take a shot. Chris Cyborg hit her with everything but the kitchen sink, and she took it and went the distance, even cut Chris Cyborg down the middle of her head. So when you take what she downloaded, the data that she downloaded from those fights, and consistently getting better, and the physical talent she already brings in, and the fact that I won't go as far as to say it's a Tyson Buster Douglas situation, but you can almost kind of see it that way, because Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson in Tokyo that night because he found himself at the perfect peak of motivation. His mom had just passed away. He had trained like a maniac, had finally got himself in the type of physical condition that would allowed him to maybe show what this potential that people had always said he had. And he comes in and he runs into a Mike Tyson who's been on top for a decent amount of time. He's got some out of the ring things. He's not exactly motivated. He's got some marital issues. Perfect storm for a huge upset. Now, Amanda Nunes may not have issues outside of the octagon and all of those sort of things that Tyson has, but is she in a position where she could be vulnerable for a super hungry challenger? And I think that's very, very possible. And I'm literally trying to talk myself into going out on a limb and changing my prediction and saying that Felicia Spencer is going to win this fight. That's how close I am to feeling like that could happen.
But Brian, can I say something?
You may.
I think you just did.
Well, I laid the case out.
I mean, you gave 5 reasons.
I laid the case out.
You're sort of just like on the fence.
I'm on the
because you don't want to go against Nunes. So what you're doing is you're kind of sprinkling it out there, so that if it happens, you could say, "Well, I said it could happen."
Yeah,
but you don't want to be as bold to just say it's gonna happen.
I'm leaning.
But you know what? It's probably what might be holding you back is the fact that all those points are very valid. But Nunes just seems like such a mentally tough person.
Yeah, she is,
and so driven that the part that's not going to affect her is the mental part.
Yes.
So you know what I mean?
I'm going with it. I'm changing my prediction. I'm going.
Say it out loud. I'm going to shut up.
Felicia Spencer pulled. No, I'm not. I can't do it.
Oh my! What's the matter with you?
I can't do it. Amanda Nunes is just a different person, man. She is a beast.
You're giving every disclaimer so that when you come and switch, you'll have every disclaimer.
Yeah.
Brian, what does your gut tell you right now? Go with your gut. What does it tell you? What is your gut telling you?
My gut tells me that Amanda Nunes knocks her out with a head kick and runs around the cage and goes, I told you.
And that's it. Leave it at that. Leave it at that.
That's
And leave it at that.
My gut says that something got in her head and says that people are saying this could be your letdown fight. And just like Mike goes and finds these motivation, Michael Jordan went and found all these different motivations to stay up.
Even if he made him up.
He made him up. You know, I think, yeah. And she runs around the cage after she knocks her out. I told you, shh, after she's knocked out, because this is just what she's different, man. That power is, because I'm going to tell you something in women's mixed martial arts, you very rarely find somebody who is as consistent of a knockout fighter as Amanda is. She's special. So usually my kind of rule that I go with is if one of the ladies is a dominant wrestler, I almost always give her the edge over somebody who is more of a striker. Now, that's not to say, I mean, Amanda's a brilliant Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, so it's not as if she's inept on the ground. But gi jiu-jitsu is different than mixed martial arts jiu-jitsu because you don't have everything that you depend on, right? And so wrestling tends to be more effective in these situations, which is why a person like Spencer would have an edge, because usually the strikes, she may have to eat some, but usually in women's mixed martial arts, you're not eating something that's so hard that knocks you out.
And you're
Amanda can do that.
You're flip-flopping.
She can do that. She has the type of power that is like, yeah, but you got to eat these on the way in and you might not make it out. So yeah,
you know what I want to do? I just want to watch you watching the fight.
Yeah, it's gonna be hilarious. It's gonna be hilarious. It's gonna be hilarious. I mean, she like I said, she's the best female mixed martial artist of all time. If this was any other person in her position, I would be saying Felicia Spencer.
All right, so
I'm still gonna stay. I'm gonna stay with Nunez. With Nunez. I can't do it because I just see her running around the cage after the knockout. That's what it is. But it's going to be, I think, if nothing else, Dana White needs to send me like a check, because I think I just created some intrigue for a fight that probably a lot of people were saying. I mean, Nunez is like a minus 625 favorite. And it's
no line value there.
And it's the main. Let
me tell you something.
I just created the line value.
Actually, you create, no, there's still no line.
I created to go for Spencer.
What is the underdog though?
Plus 500.
Okay, plus 500 if you feel Spencer's going to win is absolute line value. Minus 625 or 650 if you're picking Nunez. That's horrible.
No, that's horrible. No,
but if you're taking the dog,
yes, that's why I said I just created.
It might be worth it based on this scenario you have laid out. It might be worth it. And
I'm going to tell you just like this:
lay 100 down over 500.
Check this out: the over under is 1.5 rounds.
Okay, but what is over though? But what are the odds for over?
The odds for over are minus 200 over, plus 160 under.
Well, then it's the favorite side.
No, it's not. It's not, because I believe that it is going to go over 1.5 rounds. So
which is the favorite anyway.
Yeah. So
all right.
Which makes me actually feel even better about my suspicion, because I believe that the later this fight goes, the better Felicia Spencer has an opportunity to have worn down Amanda Nunez, who really doesn't like carrying 145 pounds.
Right.
She said it before. She doesn't like it. She says, I feel fat. So
we shall see.
We shall see. It's going to be interesting. I just excited.
Might be some more power behind those kicks, though.
Oh, definitely. She nearly kicked Holly Holm out the back of the room, man. It's going to be interesting. I just excited myself. Dana, I'll send you my Cash App. Let's go to our first between the rounds.
So, Brian, like I said in round one, this UFC 250 doesn't have the names that it had, in the previous, last week's fight, or maybe the matchups that are as intriguing.
Especially not UFC 249. It doesn't have as many.
Right. So what I want to know in the championship rounds, I want to know what you think about these matchups, how it compares, and, what we should expect overall.
overall, I think you could see some really good fights. Like I said, the 135-pound division has some really interesting possibilities there. But I want to hone in on what I believe is going to be the fight of the night. And that is Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy, taking on Chase. He used to be called the Teenage
Show enough.
You show enough. He got the glow. He used to be called the Teenage Dream, but he just turned 20. Well, he'll actually be 21 later this year. So now he's not the Teenage Dream anymore. Now he's just the Dream. But he started his professional mixed martial arts career when he was, still a teenager. And so he was called the Teenage Dream. He looks like he should be on that 70 show. And he's actually one of the people who are not actually, is not actually grown like Ashton Kutcher. But I mean, this kid is a phenomenal grappler. He is tough as all get out. He actually, Chase Hooper, for anyone who doesn't know, is a guy on the right. He's a minus 190 favorite according to Bet Online, and Caceres is a plus 165 underdog. And the reason for that is that Caceres is very athletic. He has a really diverse striking game. He's really unpredictable in the way he throws strikes. You never know what angles and different types of things he's coming from, and he'll try just about any sort of strike. But he also has exhibited, in my opinion, some kind of faulty fight IQ, puts himself in some precarious situations, and thus he's had a issue being submitted. 7 of his losses have come by submission. That's a lot of losses. That's a lot of losses to come in one particular way.
Right. So you'll get into it more, I would assume, in the championship.
Yes, round. You're right. I ran all the way into the championship already. I'm already on the championship.
There's always plenty to talk about.
I'm celebrating my championship. So we'll talk about why that's a fight of the night in the championship rounds, or my thought.
Yeah, but the other part of my question for the championship rounds is just really the overall card, the matchups, and where they kind of fit within, where the UFC is right now.
I think that's an interesting take. So let's jump ahead and go into round 2. All right, so this is absolutely, I'm going to tell you just off the top. Off the top, this is pretty ridiculous. But it was said, so we're going to talk about it. Freddie Roach appeared on Boxing with Chris Mannix on the Zone, and he just started talking, man. He started saying some stuff, right? Okay. So he's talking to Chris Mannix, and they're talking about Manny's next fight potentially. Yep. And he throws out the name that Manny could go up to 160 pounds and fight Gennady Golovkin.
Oh,
he said one thing about Manny, he doesn't just want to beat anybody. He wants to beat the best out there. He wants to fight the top guys. I like that fight versus the potential next opponent, which is Mikey Garcia. He said, but the thing is, Manny might want to go a little bit higher and fight Triple G, one of those guys who's supposed to be the best. I would not advise him to go to 160 pounds. No, that would be a little crazy. But putting him at 147 pounds was a risk at one time, and that worked out really good for us. So he's leaving it out there, and he said that Manny still desires to be the best. He wants to make his country better. He wants to improve everything. So he was answering a question about, well, if Manny's still making these plans to move ahead with his boxing career with like no real end in sight, what does that mean for his his political career? And I'm just telling you, man, I really wouldn't want to see Manny going up to 160 pounds fighting Gennady Golovkin. I mean, I think that Manny Pacquiao is a better fighter than Gennady Golovkin, but they have weight classes for a reason. And wow, and I mean, nobody has won more championships in more weight classes than Manny already. He gonna add another one. I don't like it. I think it's a key to polluting the end of Manny's career with some sort of knockout finish loss that we don't even need to see. And it's one thing to lose to a guy because he's better than you. It's another thing to lose to a guy because he's just simply too big for you to be fighting. Because Golovkin's not better than Manny. He's just too big. So I just wouldn't want to see that.
Look, when Roy Jones went up to fight John Ruiz for the heavyweight title, it was just perfect timing.
Yes.
It was the right guy.
It was the right guy.
Right guy, and if you're going to take a risk,
Mm-hmm.
Now remember, 47 to Manny's career starting at, was it
106?
106. Was it 106?
106.
Right. So
that is amazing.
Well, remember, there was a point in Manny's career where he was big for the weight.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Then there was a point where he was perfect for the weight.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was a point where he's reaching a little bit.
154 against De La Hoya.
You know, it's just it's not reasonable. The guys at 54 walk around at 180. Yeah. I mean, these are big men. Could Manny pose problems and just little pitter pat in and out, get away, just try to avoid getting touched? Sure, he could, but against the right guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Triple G is not the right guy.
No, because
Triple G can still fight.
Yeah,
and he's too big, he's too long. I mean, Manny puts himself in danger. Manny's reflexes, regardless of what Freddie or anybody else wants to think, they have slowed down.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, he right time on the decline.
Mm-hmm.
He caught Thurman after a bad look against Josecito Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Thurman still had some issues and a lot of time off, prior to Lopez.
Mm-hmm.
But, I don't know. Triple G, that's not the right middleweight. I mean, I don't even know if there is a middleweight champion. That would be the right middleweight.
Not in this era. They're too big.
This is too big.
They all 6 feet tall.
Here's the thing. Triple G is taller than me. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, he must be close to 5'11".
Yeah, he's 5. They list him at 5'11".
Okay. So, I mean,
man, he's 5'5", man.
Yeah, it's just it's not reasonable. It's not even a conversation to debate. And the people that watch our show, they know I like Manny.
Mm-hmm.
They know that I really
don't start trying to pander to the Manny crowd now.
Listen, that's you.
No, that you doing it. You doing it right. They say,
do we need to do a slideshow? Do we need to do a slideshow of me and Manny?
You know how much I love Manny.
Listen, do we need to do a slideshow with me and Manny?
Give Manny a hug right now. That's what you doing.
Who spent more time with Manny, me or you?
You. That's
who's got a gazillion. It's not pandering if you know the guy and you like the guy.
I love Manny so much.
But listen. Hey, look, let me tell you something. Just because you got destroyed in the comments on our Manny Floyd, whose career would you like to have? Don't take it out on me.
Just so unnecessary.
All right, but let's not ever say I didn't
like Manny. I did.
Not only did you say you don't like Manny,
I did not say that.
You said you didn't like Filipino fighters in general.
You are a sucker. You are not. I did not. Nonito Donaire is my man. That's my guy.
You're pandering.
No, I love Nonito Donaire.
I know. Listen. I agree with you though. This whole thing about moving up to middleweight, there is no middleweight. I mean, it's just not. It's not going to. I mean, and by the way, why'd they skip? I guess because they want to go for another division. So
yeah, I would think that, because my thought is he wants to fight somebody that's going to generate the biggest payday, which to me makes all the sense in the world. Mm-hmm. I don't think Manny should be fighting anybody for less than $30 million.
Listen, I think Errol Spence is too big for him.
I think he is too.
Forget about Golovkin. I think Spence
right
is
now,
too big.
somebody is in the comment section that Peter Kahn is an idiot if he believes that Manny cannot beat Chamberlain.
Right. Manny Pacquiao, John Jones.
Manny Pacquiao will knock out Yao Ming and Manute Bol at the same time in a handicap match. Thank you.
Was Freddie 100% serious, or was he just kind of joking?
He was giving off a 100% serious vibe, even though he might have just.
And what did Chris say? What did Chris's level? What did he say?
He said, that's pretty stupid. No, I mean that was the look on his face. This is ridiculous.
Like we're having this dialogue right now.
We're saying this, and it's pretty stupid. But okay, never mind. We're gonna act like it's
it's too big. I mean, look, it's the end. That's the end of the road.
Yeah,
I would listen. Manny's been stopped before, as you've pointed out, and as you've gloated and pointed out.
So you're gonna do that? That's what you're gonna do. That's what you're gonna do.
I mean,
that's what you're gonna do.
As you gloated
That's what you're gonna do.
All right.
Manny has been stopped. And
I would not want to see him.
And somebody said it in the comments. They was like, "You right. When Manny get knocked out, he get knocked all the way out. Like he don't let nobody. It's no conversation. Right. Period. He's out.
Yeah. I don't want to see him get hit by Triple G. So
I would not want to see that. Why do I need to see that?
He's already accomplished something that no one is going to be able to do again.
Nobody will do that again.
No one's going to win a world title in 8 different weight divisions.
Nobody is going to come out here at 106 pounds and go up to 154 pounds.
Brian, how many 6 or 7 division champions have there been? They're all at 5.
Yeah. Wait a minute. How many did Henry Armstrong win?
I don't know.
He won a lot.
But you know what I'm saying? Like all the modern, I mean, all these modern people right now, it's like 5 divisions.
Yeah. The 5 divisions. Wait a minute. How many did De La Hoya win?
Well, he started at what? 26, 30, 126, 30, 35, 40, 47.
Yeah, and 50, probably 154. 54 because Manny beat him for 54, I believe.
Right, but I'm saying he lost to Bernard Hopkins when he tried to fight to a body shot at middle, and he looked little. Yeah.
He also just didn't look like he should have even still been fighting.
Who, Oscar?
Yeah, Oscar looked like he was just done at that
point. Against Bernard?
Against Hopkins. He just didn't look
unsteady at that weight class.
Yeah. He said he just wasn't there. So I saw an interview, he was talking about it, but
how about Manny against Mike Tyson? Let's just go for it.
Manny against Mike. Bare knuckle. Oh yeah. Now that sells some tickets.
Yeah.
That sells some tickets.
I mean, Freddie might as well have thrown that one out there too.
Boy, that sells some tickets. Manny Pacquiao, Mike Tyson, bare knuckle.
I hope people, if you're watching this for the first time, you do know that Brian is joking.
Am I?
Just put it out there.
Let's go into our next Between the Rounds. Alrighty, so we're talking about major superstars in boxing and their next opponents, and we were just talking about Triple G. We talk about the guy who has made it very clear. I don't want no parts of you. I'm not fighting you no more. Canelo Alvarez is leading Triple G around like he is just like a thirsty person. Canelo's news just broke that Canelo, he's just leading them around like, you want this water? You want this water? You want this water? You ain't getting this water. I
thought you meant thirsty like in the other sense.
It's both. It's just bad. It's terrible because he put out the two. It leaked the two fighters or potential opponents he may have coming up, and it's either Sergey Derevianchenko, which I think would be a really tough fight, really competitive fight, or Anthony Dirrell, which I don't think would be a competitive fight. I think it's a bad fight. So, which means this is probably the one we'll see. It's just, I don't know, man. We'll talk about it in the championship rounds, but I would love to see or hear.
I mean, I have some thoughts, and I speak to Derevianchenko's manager, so Keith Connolly.
Yes, so let me know.
I'll give you some of what I think.
Let me know what Casey has to say about this.
Manager,
he should change his stable. He should be Casey in the Sunshine Band. No.
Be respectful. He's manager of the year.
His initials are KC, and he has obviously a fantastic stable. Why can't the stable be the Sunshine Band?
Well, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about where we think Derevianchenko is going to land, and it's a good topic.
It'd be awesome. Let's jump into round 3. What time is it? I thought I'd do it differently.
I'm just going to cut to that.
Okay. That was actually a little bit better than what you normally do.
Okay. Well, you know what it is? I'm episode 9 now.
Do you have to like lean forward and furrow your brow when you say it? Does that make it seem like you're being more aggressive when you do that?
Much. I mean, I don't have much room.
I didn't know what that was. I didn't know. I thought you got a chill.
For all the first-time watchers today, they're probably thinking, "Man, we're not watching this ever again." They've already subscribed, like unsubscribing. Right. No more alerts.
I don't know what's going on.
The regulars, go in the comments and tell them we're not this goofy.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Just let us ride. So the question that comes in today is, we're talking about Dana White and Fight Island. The first actual card on Fight Island is on July 11th. We still don't know where it's going to be, where it is. But we do know, I believe, that Rose Namajunas Jessica Andrade rematch will headline that first card. We also found out that there will be an octagon on the beach. So that is pretty crazy. So I want to know, you got a lot of inside information. You hear stuff all over the place. Peter will call me and he'll give me inside information on a transfer that is happening in the Premier League. And I'm like, what? He gets these things, right? So I want to know, have you gotten wind of where Fight Island might be?
Dana White's pretty clever.
He is. He's throwing all kinds.
He throws a lot of misinformation out there to different people.
Yes.
To see what comes out.
Yes.
Then he knows whose lips,
sink ships.
Well,
lips sink ships.
They do, but then he knows where it's coming from. So everybody's very reluctant to repeat the information they know.
Yes.
Because they don't know if they really know it.
Right.
They don't know if it's like, give this guy that, give these people this, give them that, and all of a sudden stuff gets sprinkled. So that was you talking
a lot of talking, huh?
Okay. We see you. We see you.
You see, you little nasty person. You're telling all my fight business.
Period. It's always better when I do it in the chat.
Period.
So to answer your question, I don't know where it is.
You don't?
I don't. But here's the thing. So I was thinking, right, about, just with borders being closed, international travel maybe still being a little bit compromised, that it's probably somewhere still in a U.S. territory. You know what I mean? Now, who said this beach information? Was it the UFC or was it sprinkled out there by somebody else?
No, Dana said it.
Okay. So, I think we can limit it to someplace that would be still like a U.S. territory that's considered an island, right? Or maybe we're thinking way too hard and maybe it's just somewhere in the Bahamas. Maybe it's, but then again, he said it's his own, they said it's their own island, right?
Yep.
Maybe that's not entirely true.
Maybe it's not.
And we're getting to the time of year where if it's in the Caribbean and you have a octagon on the beach, you might be looking at a lot of rain.
But who knows if that's where the actual fight is going to be?
You lose me there. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I'm just saying from a flight from logistics, from all of that, right? Logistics, from commission, it has to be somewhere where there's a commission to oversee and approve it, where there's some sort of commission jurisdiction. So
let me ask you this:
South Padre Island. Okay.
So what is the commission like in Puerto Rico?
I have no idea. I don't know. Oh, well, I do know. Yeah. What am I saying? I don't know.
I know you know.
I was just there in the...
I know you know.
I have no idea. Wait a second. I was just in the executive director's office in February.
Yeah.
Whew. I just blacked out.
What does it look like there?
I only know with regard to boxing. So I don't know. It's a regular boxing commission. It's Puerto Rico. Some of the greatest fighters in history have come out of Puerto Rico.
Absolutely.
So it's a very solid commission. And I know they do MMA.
Another great one on the.
But it's not. But Dana is insinuating that it's their own island. That literally calling it Fight Island. So what I'm thinking is, how there's like these little islands in the Caribbean. That's just like big enough.
People can buy.
Yeah. Right, like where cruise ships go and do these little excursions, and they have like the cruise Olympics. I'm just thinking it's probably one of those setups, but I'm just thinking like the infrastructure, just all those things seem so complicated. Like maybe it sounded so much better when the thought of this thing was like that it was going to linger. You know what I'm saying? Linger I mean, maybe doing shows at the Apex is just so much easier.
No, I mean they have said it like this. It's
Right.
happening.
No, it's great. Listen, I'm excited. I have no idea. I really don't. I haven't heard anything. I have no idea. I'm guessing.
I'm gonna tell you what I think.
Okay.
I think that it is like in the Florida Keys.
Okay.
That's what I believe. I believe that it's someplace in the Florida Keys. You're talking about like Captiva or something of that, something like that. I think. I mean,
it would make sense.
You can literally go online and look at islands and purchase islands.
Right.
And so obviously they would do whatever they need to do to, make sure that everything is safe, and they do all types of weather projections and all of the prospective stuff that they need to do. But like you said, when you talk about travel and you talk about international travel and having that kind of being restricted, wouldn't want to run into that. You want to still be operating in a place where you are, where you can limit that travel, and that the state that it's probably, I don't know how the island, if anything that goes on an island in the Florida Keys is still,
of course it would be.
It's still subject to every,
it would be subject to the commission.
So to me, that makes the most sense. And you can make it look as exotic as you want to make it look. And another thing that got me is that Dana said he would be going there and staying there for a month. I can't imagine right now, with everything that's going on in the world and everything that is going on with his promotion, with so much transition, that he be willing to go someplace outside of the country for a month.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, especially with who knows what's going to happen if there's, if this thing's going to come back with a second wave and a spike and another quarantine. Who knows?
Because then he could end up finding himself stuck in another country. Sure. I don't think that would he would ever do that. That just wouldn't make any sense. So my bet and my guess is the Florida Keys, some island off of Florida.
Could be. Makes sense.
That would be my bet. So
we're going to find out sooner than later.
We're going to find out really soon, because he said yesterday, or was that earlier today, that he is going to release pictures and he's giving them to TMZ Sports first. It's a good relationship with them. And because actually the interview was on TMZ Sports. And so, yeah, we'll see.
Hey, we're in hurricane season.
Yeah, which is another thing that's kind of tough, because do you want to do? Yeah. It's a little weird here, man.
It's supposed to be a very active one too.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that was the last thing we need.
Last thing I need. You're in Chicago.
I'm talking about humanity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm here.
Yeah. It's humanity doesn't need another storm of any kind.
Right.
Just period. It's tough already. But all right, let's go into our championship rounds. All righty.
It's you.
So I started talking.
You already went through half of it.
Well, I like the fight of the night to be Caceres against Chase Hooper. I just think that Caceres is one of those guys. He fights a style that is very difficult for him to have a fight that isn't interesting. It's just he brings it all the time. And because Alex Caceres fights like he's a video game character. That's just the way he fights. So there's flaws in that for sure, which is the reason why I have Chase Hooper winning the fight. Chase Hooper is also a very crowd pleasing guy. He embraces the battle, the beating down. He's a fantastic on the ground, but he's not the type of dude who gets you on the ground and looks to lay on you and just to lay there in position till he can work a submission. He's fantastic with getting submissions, but he also gets stops with ground and pound. Caceres is very active if he does get taken down. So this one, I think, to me, if you had to pick a fight that was going to be the fight of the night, it would definitely be that one. There's a couple other ones that have some potential. Zusier Formiga against Alex Perez could be a really good fight. Perez is a -130 favorite. Formiga's a +110 underdog. I went with the underdog on that one, so that's a dog pick that I have. Okay. If you're looking for somebody who probably is in a good position to get a performance of the night, Alonzo Minifield -210 favorite against Devin Clark +110 underdog. Minifield reminds me a lot of Anthony Rumble Johnson. Just he's got that kind of explosive, just crazy power. And he's a guy who I think is set up for a huge finish. But we'll see what happens. But I don't think Devin Clark beats him. The other fight that's interesting, I think the biggest dog that I went with, because I didn't have the cojones to pick.
You and this cojones today.
Yeah,
you just like the way it sounds.
It's cojones. Somebody, I think about 11 years ago, somebody taught me how to say it right. So ever since
then, you're so impressed with yourself.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, you have to impress yourself. You can't impress anybody else. But the biggest dog I have is Brian Kelleher. He's a plus 210 underdog. And I took him to beat Cody Stamann, who is a minus 250 underdog. I mean, minus 250 favorite. Okay. I actually made this choice before I learned some late, unfortunate, like kind of tragic news about Cody Stamann. His 18-year-old brother suddenly died like 2 days ago, 2 or 3 days ago. He's still going to fight. And he's saying that he's fighting because his brother would want him to. So I don't know how that will affect him. I don't know what it'll mean. I am still going with Kelleher, just simply removing like the emotional aspect out of it and just thinking about the fight. But it's going to you will hear a lot about that throughout the broadcast for sure. But yeah, it should still be a very interesting card. Oh, and then I actually went with Assunção to beat Cody Garbrandt, which is plus 115 underdog as well. So, the pick'em fight. There is one pick'em fight on the card. Okay. Both Corey Sandhagen and Aljamain Sterling are minus 110.
Wow. So that's on Bet Online.
Yes.
Wow.
All of those are on Bet Online. So interesting watch for sure. Let's go to our second championship rounds and tell me your thoughts, on this Canelo and his next opponent and so on and so forth.
Look, I don't think we're going to see Canelo fighting Derevyanchenko. I still stand with what you had presented and predicted a couple weeks ago. Which was that we're going to probably see Derevyanchenko and Jermall Charlo, which is going to be a really good fight for Charlo. Very credible fight. Could probably take place sometime, I guess, maybe in the fall.
Yep.
Look, Derevyanchenko is a promotional free agent, I believe. He was with DeBella Entertainment. I do believe that he's a promotional free agent. And that's why Keith, when I texted him last night and I just wrote, whoa, Canelo ... And he replied with something else.
Yeah.
So basically, and then he had told Mike Coppinger, that he hasn't heard anything from Golden Boy, but they have his number. And so I just think that that's more just potential rumor based, because where does that fight take place?
Yeah, that was kind of my thought, what I was thinking.
Derevyanchenko is effective at 60.
Right.
I don't know how effective he is at 68. I just still think there's so many better fights for Canelo at 68 that have already been talked about, that were supposed to happen. I'd still like to see him fight Billy Joe Saunders. Yeah. Or even fight Callum Smith, or fight, who was he supposed to fight? I'm already forgetting who he was supposed to. Oh, Triple G. Look, I know it's not necessarily what people might want to see anymore, but, we were very close to that trilogy.
People will watch it. They won't be super excited for it until the week of the fight. Right. Because it's a big thing that'll be taking place. But there's some fights that as soon as they're announced, right, you're like, oh boy, yeah, can't wait for that. And then so there's the anticipation builds for 90 days leading up to it or whatever. And then there's other fights that you're like, but then around about when it comes fight week, you go, yeah, I want to see that. And then you kind of get excited on Friday night because tomorrow you're going to watch it. You're going to have some people buy whatever. To me, the third Triple G Canelo fight is that. It's not one you hear about in 90 days out of the fight. You're like, whoo, can't wait for that fight. It's just not one of those.
Right. Didn't you talk about last week the best UFC fighters never to win a world title?
Yes.
Right? We talked about that.
One of those weeks, yeah.
Well, Sergey Derevyanchenko might be the best middleweight to never win a world title.
You mean in the current?
In the current.
Yeah.
Yeah, right now. Okay. In the current, but also tell me another one. Give me one like that just comes right off the top of your head. It's tough. I mean, it's tough. But what I'm saying is like he falls in that category. He sure made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
He made more money. I mean, he probably netted $7-8 million between Danny Jacobs and Triple G.
Yeah. You'd have to. What you'd have to do is you'd have to look at a time period, right, where you had a just truly dominant champion, right, who was able to turn back challengers. So the most recent period that I can think of is the Marvin Hagler period. So I'm wondering, what were there contemporaries that he fought, his own contemporaries that he fought during that time period that he denied from winning?
Just go back to Bernard Hopkins.
Right, Bernard Hopkins is another.
So who was the person?
But was Bernard ever undisputed though?
I think he was.
Okay.
Yes, he was. I'll tell you when he was. Let me walk you through it. So he was undisputed when he fought Oscar.
Okay.
Because Oscar beat Felix Sturm to win the middleweight title. Mm-hmm. And then that set up the fight with Bernard, who had just beaten a fighter that I had represented at the time for the third time, Robert Allen.
Okay, I got
as the mandatory for the IBF. So then he had all. I'm sorry, tell me.
No, I'm sorry. I got a name for you.
Okay,
John the Beast Mugabe.
Okay,
you would have to say
right.
He's in that conversation.
Sure.
Yeah.
But there are people like that. You know what I'm saying? There are people that fall in that, and I think right now, Derevyanchenko, I think the best and last opportunity that he has to become a world champion from a timing perspective will be Jermall Charlo.
Yeah. I
mean, look at Charlo's last 3 wins. Korobov, we'll go backwards. Hogan, Brandon, who is it?
We talking about Charlo?
Yeah, he went to Hogan 7th round TKO.
The real athletic kid.
Brandon.
Yeah, he's a good fighter, but just not.
Went the distance.
Yeah, went the distance.
Korobov went the distance. People kind of thought that was
Brandon Adams.
Adams. But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that, Hogan, who I represent, lost TKO 7th round. He's a junior middleweight.
Mm-hmm.
Went up to middleweight.
Right.
Derevyanchenko's a middleweight.
Yeah.
With an extensive amateur background. I mean, lost a split decision to Danny Jacobs.
Yeah.
Arguably beat Triple G.
Triple G, yeah.
That's a good fight. That's probably his best and last chance to win a world title at 160 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
Before he is that guy that's just been in some really tough fights to where he might be kind of used up.
Yeah. Man, I feel so old. John Mugabe, 60 years old. Wow. I feel super old. And it's, that fight, he sticks out in my head so much because John Mugabe versus Marvin Hagler was like a huge deal in 1986. And I begged my father to order the fight. Back at that time, they only had 2 cable channels. It was either On TV or Spectrum in Illinois. So we had Spectrum. Mm-hmm. And you had the pay-per-view. It was like they did the closed circuit some weird type of thing, pay-per-view. Mm-hmm. And I begged him to order this fight. And he finally ordered it. And it didn't even come in until they were already like in the 2nd round or something. But I sat there and watched it, and we couldn't even get the reception to come in right. But I'm just sitting there, and this is 1986. I'm 11 years old, and I'm just like, I just was so Mugabe stuck in my head. I think when he fought Hagler, I believe he was like 34-0 with 34 or 33 knockouts.
Right. It
was something insane. And I remember just feeling like this might be the dude. This might be the guy.
Right.
Kid, I don't know really, but yeah. So he sticks in my head. But he never won a world title, even though he had that fantastic record. Well, actually, it looks like no. He didn't win a He didn't win a middleweight title. He won a 154-pound title.
All right. Well, he wasn't left empty-handed.
Right. Yeah,
but you know what? I mean, we've all had as managers or representatives of fighters, we've all had a guy that you could say the best guy that I ever managed or represented that never won a world title. And for me, one name that sticks out that, you know, most people in this chat probably won't remember is Sid Vanderpool. Lost to Bernard Hopkins and then at middleweight, and then lost to Jeff Lacey for the vacant IBF super middleweight title.
I remember his name. I remember his name.
Right. And he had a brother, Fritz Vanderpool, who fought Fernando Vargas, his brother. Neither of them, but what I'm saying is Sid had a really great career. And then we had a contract to fight Mikkel Kessler, his last shot at a title, and then that just got canceled. So I'm just saying, like, there's always guys that were just like really, really, really good, but just couldn't win the world title. So yeah, and then we'll see.
That's interesting. Yeah,
but I think Derevyanchenko has a shot. I think that he can. Listen, the right circumstances, the right night, I think he could beat Jermall Charlo.
I think it's possible. Derevyanchenko is a good fighter, man. Right. He's a good fighter. So
it would be a really exciting fight and a great matchup.
Yeah, I do. I think Charlo's too big, but it would be a good fight. It would be a good. Charlo's a big dude.
Yeah. So believe me, I know.
Yeah, he's a big guy, and he's got his hand speed is especially on the inside. Yeah, I think he beats Derevyanchenko, but I think it's the toughest fight of Charlo's career, by far. I don't even think it's.
I don't know. I think he could be brought to a place he hasn't brought to before.
Yeah,
I see him, you know, maybe in a potential really good fight.
Lines only.
We'll see. I mean, look, it could be the right fight.
I do. I think it's a good fight. I think it's a good fight to elevate him. I think it's a good fight to put him in a great fight in front of people. So we'll see. But needless to say, I don't think anybody wants to see Canelo against Anthony Durrell.
No.
Nobody wants to see that. So it is what it is. So that's all that we have for you today. Appreciate you checking in and watching us today. For my man, Peter Kahn, as always, appreciate you watching. God bless and peace.